The idea of outsourcing our refugee problem, our migrant problem, is not a conservative one. It's something that Tony Blair's government considered and then abandoned. It's something that Australia has done quite successfully. It received a great deal of criticism for putting people in Papua New Guinea and Nauru, and human rights groups were very quick to point out numerous abuses, but now there's a centre which is pretty permanently established in Christmas Island, and that is a far flung but Australian territory. That sort of gets rid of the problems. The Dublin regulation, Dublin 3, which we were signed up to while we were part of Europe, allows EU states to return asylum seekers to the first country in Europe where they arrived. That puts an unfair burden on countries like Greece and Italy and Spain, and in fact, as a result, Italy has recently looked at the possibility of building centres in Albania. That's ironic, given the problems that Albania seems to have caused for Priti Patel and Suella Braverman. But Albania is one solution. If Rwanda is not considered a safe country, is Italy a safe country? Ironically, that is on the list, apparently, of possible solutions to Rishi Sunak's dilemma. Because Rwanda, if he defines Rwanda as a safe country, that doesn't automatically solve the problem. So there needs to be yet another solution in the bag. And the Illegal Migration Act, this act which came into effect earlier this year, which was the second wave of Suella Braverman's two completely mad attempts to redefine reality, of which this is a third, of which the idea of declaring an unsafe country safe is a third attempt to redefine reality. So the Illegal Migration Act says that anyone arriving in Britain by an illegal route has 28 days before they are deported or restrained in some place until they are deported. But they will not be processed. So that means they will be sent away from the UK and therefore cannot be sent back because they were never here. They were never officially here. That's the beauty of that particular piece of Machiavellian legislation. The earlier bit of legislation which he put through in November, the Nationality and Borders Act, specifically attacks the principles that lie behind the 1951 Refugee Convention, which is that although people may use illegal routes and methods to get into a country, once they get to our shores and apply for asylum, we are duty-bound to process that claim. Either to reject it, in which case they become an illegal migrant and must leave the country, or to accept it, in which case we are offering them sanctuary. What Suella Braverman did in the Nationality and Borders Act was to say that anybody who comes by an illegal route is not going to be that will not become an acceptable form of entry into the UK. They must use a safe and legal route, not an illegal route. So these two acts together were an attempt to redefine reality. And so we shouldn't be that surprised that Rishi Sunak is now going back to the rule book which has been set up by Suella Braverman with lawyers who she consulted, and they have said that this is the right way forward. Rishi Sunak, of course, is a complete twit for thinking that he can pick up Suella Braverman's mad and insane rule book and think that's going to be secure. It's not. and I'm afraid he's going to end up with egg on his face. But I think, given the relationship that Britain already has with Albania, that would be an extremely good option. Georgia Meloni has already got what she calls a European agreement and an innovative solution. And the more than 145,000 migrants who have reached Italy since 2023, some of those can be housed in the Albanian detention centres that she is setting up. Now, if she is setting those up there, why are we going to Africa? That would be one solution. It would provide much needed income for Albania, and it's a significantly safer country than trying to suggest that we're going to go to Rwanda. I think also we need to clarify the idea that Suella Braverman slid into this agreement was that people would be sent to Rwanda, would be processed, either accepted as a refugee or not accepted as a refugee, but then the refugees would not be sent back to the UK, as some MPs actually thought on camera, but would be kept in Rwanda for perpetuity. In fact, simply because of the means of transport that they used to get to the UK, they would never be allowed in the UK again. Now, that is something that I think many people do not understand in the Rwanda proposal, and many MPs don't understand it, because it was slid in, because it was a sneaky bit of prestidigitation. So I think it's important that we pay attention to the Supreme Court. If we are prepared now to say, well, what the Supreme Court says is of no consequence because we can just change the law about this, then we can change the law about anything. And if we're going to be that free with the law, then I'm afraid the security of our political and legal and civil structures is in great danger. That is the problem. We mess with the law to our own cost, and that will take decades to repair.